For much of their lives, many men walk around dazed, hunting in women's eyes for the promise of love, approval, and happiness. Yet, more often than not, they collect disappointments, get exploited, or find themselves stuck in commitments that don't serve them. 2 centuries ago, Arthur Schopenhauer ripped through this romantic illusion and revealed a truth few can handle. The true nature of women doesn't match the fairy tales we've been told. Once you realize where this illusion begins, you'll have the key to taking back control of your own story. Pay close attention, because what follows isn't just controversial. It's the missing piece in the puzzle for most men. Schopenhauer rejected happy endings wrapped in silk ribbons. To him, love was less poetry and more biological strategy, an unforgiving trick created by nature with one purpose: to continue the species. Here's the uncomfortable part: that spark making your heart race, the attachment that feels like destiny, the certainty that she's the one. These are nothing but chemical reactions designed to push you toward reproduction. The sooner you grasp this mechanism, the quicker you'll clear the fog and take back the reins. He analyzes without even realizing: fertility, genetic compatibility, chances of healthy offspring. It's an automatic process. On the other side, the female mechanism runs the same algorithm, but assigns different weights to each factor. That's why Schopenhauer said love drives nearly every human effort. Not out of romance, but because it's a biological trap designed to push the species forward. This trigger floods the brain with chemicals. As soon as it fulfills its role, it dissolves. Stop and think. How many men have given up their reputation, time, or wealth for a woman who walked away without looking back? How many homes fell apart once the thrill of novelty turned into routine? There's no coincidence here. It's evolutionary design. When choosing, women don't consult fairness, loyalty, or logic. Instead, ancient software searches for signs of status, security, and strong genes. If the candidate doesn't meet these requirements, his devotion quickly loses market value. Schopenhauer saw this pattern with clear-eyed precision. Reason rarely steers the wheel. Instinct and emotion take control. This isn't an attack, it's empirical observation. Just look at dating apps. Around 80% of female users direct their likes to the top 20% of men who meet prestige benchmarks. This built-in filter decides who stays, who goes, and who doesn't even get to play the game. Look at divorce courts. The same vow that promised security often ends up costing half of everything you own. Go back through history and you'll find kings who gave up their crowns for the attention of lovers who later betrayed them to the enemy. The scenes change, but the script stays the same because our biological code hasn't gotten an update. Yet countless men still treat love like an equation. The bigger the sacrifice, the bigger the reward. Schopenhauer warned, fairness alone won't cut it. You need strategic intelligence. Women don't get excited by pure kindness. What sparks interest is strength, whether physical, social, financial, or mental. That's why the nice guy ends up losing. He's not lacking merit, he's just misreading the game board. He bets on constant effort. Women, by instinct, gravitate toward those who don't need to chase approval. Notice how many women cool off once they feel the territory is secure, and suddenly the chase flips sides. Schopenhauer called this the tragedy of possession. The thrill is in the climb, not in crossing the finish line. When the conquest ends, the chemistry demands a new challenge. So the man who makes her his center of gravity, who replies instantly to every notification, often faces the very distance he's desperate to avoid. The key isn't female morality, it's nature. Once you understand this mechanism, complaints give way to strategy. For Schopenhauer, the idea wasn't to hate women, but to see them clearly, without filters. Ultimately, love is a negotiation, and any man who starts bargaining from a position of weakness is bound to lose. This is just the first move. The next revelation hits even harder. It explains why so many men today stumble in every area: careers, relationships, even friendships. and shows exactly how to turn the game around. Stick around, because this is where many realize they've been mistaken their entire lives. Schopenhauer saw what most people still avoid admitting. The rules of attraction aren't fair, don't follow common logic, and rarely favor those who ignore their own biology. While society preaches total equality, nature follows laws that slogans can't change. Pretending these rules don't exist? That's a one-way ticket to defeat. The raw truth is simple. In relationships, women have the decisive advantage, not out of cruelty, but because nature has shaped them as ruthless selectors. From puberty onward, a woman's sexual value skyrockets. A man's, however, must be built through status, skill, and resilience. Schopenhauer was blunt. Women fit the role of caregivers precisely because they are, according to him, more childlike, frivolous, and short-sighted. He didn't mean this as an insult, but as an evolutionary observation proven through centuries. Youth and beauty are women's currency, and they learn almost instinctively to spend it at exactly the right moment, before their biological clock calls in the debt. Look around you. The average man is drowning in a modern paradox. He's told to open his heart, yet many still expect him to display dominance. He's ridiculed for valuing traditional masculinity, while alpha types dominate the dating apps. He pushes himself to the limit to sustain a system that repays him with divorce hearings and demands for paternity tests. Centuries ago, Schopenhauer warned about this. He saw women as naturally suited to childcare and early education, precisely because, according to him, they remain childlike, frivolous, and short-sighted, essentially big kids for life. The critical point today is that modern women, far from ignoring this power, have turned it into a weapon. Social media turned attention into currency, making the average man an unpaid worker in this market. He flatters, orbits, and competes for crumbs of validation from women who will never truly commit to him. Why? Because he bought the fairy tale that devotion alone is enough. Schopenhauer saw this trap long before matches and dating apps ever existed. In this scenario, women would be systematically trained to lack genuine love. At first glance, it seems ruthless. But looking closer, you understand the main idea. Women's love is conditional, measured by the usefulness a partner provides. Men aren't loved for who they are, but for what they bring to the table. When provision stops, feelings vanish. It's not cynicism, they say. It's survival instinct. Biology drives women to seek the best available provider. If he stagnates, resentment grows. If he falls behind, she moves on. And modern society applauds this outcome. Schopenhauer simplified the picture by dividing men into those who serve and those who are served. The so-called beta spends his energy trying to prove his worth. The alpha effortlessly displays value. One begs for loyalty, the other inspires obsession. The pattern is everywhere. The executive who sacrifices his health for a promotion, hoping to regain his wife's respect. The guy obsessed with fitness who sculpts his body only to discover he's now desired for sex, not commitment. The simp who burns through his paycheck on a girl who disappears the moment someone of higher status appears. These men aren't hostages. They willingly enter the game. Yet Schopenhauer didn't just diagnose the problem. He offered an escape route. The first rule of survival is seeing the world as it really is, not how we wish it were. Men who thrive today don't cling to outdated romantic ideals. They master the rules of the game. And here's the final truth. The game is rigged, but only against those who insist on playing by the wrong rules. This is where most people give up, because the next revelation is the most bitter of all. It's not about them, it's about you. Once this insight sinks in, the entire game board shifts. Schopenhauer recognized something modern psychology confirms. Women play a different game. They don't challenge you head-on or openly show their power. Their strongest weapon is subtle, instinctive, and relentless: emotional influence. While men trade punches or arguments, women move the pieces through perception. They don't occupy territory, they rearrange the map. Think about it. When a man wants something, he demands it. When a woman wants something, she makes you think it was your idea. Schopenhauer noted that due to their weaker physical strength and maternal role, women focus intensely on the present, and this becomes their strength. Alert to the moment, they decode micro-expressions, changes in tone, and social dynamics with surgical precision. A man thinks he's having a conversation. She's actually conducting a subtle interrogation. The modern man believes he's steering his relationships. In reality, he's just rowing. From the coffee on your first date to signing divorce papers, a relationship follows a route filled with subtle tests managed by the woman. Many men stumble through these without even noticing. First comes the compliance test. How quickly do you drop your plans for her? Then there's the frame control test. Do you hold your ground, or do you dance to the emotional tune she sets? Finally, the investment test. Who's chasing whom more? Schopenhauer already warned that women have an almost instinctive cunning, rooted in their natural talent for reading and influencing others. It's not malice, it's adaptation. In a world where brute strength didn't guarantee survival, emotional intelligence became the true currency. Those who couldn't decode a man's mind didn't pass on their genes. And here's where the modern man steps onto the scene completely unarmed. He confuses attention with genuine desire and happily walks into the trap. Schopenhauer lifts the veil, revealing the raw mechanics. Women are drawn to men who don't depend on them. The moment you make her your life's main project, respect evaporates. Suddenly, everything makes sense. The nice guy finishes last. Marriages crumble when husbands abandon ambition, and women chase emotionally unavailable partners. They're not looking for pain. They're guided by a biological radar pointing toward men with higher perceived value. And few things erode that value faster than excessive neediness. Every conversation with a woman carries a silent battle for control. Most men lose this fight long before they realize they're even competing, still thinking they're just being nice. Tears appear to deflect blame, affection is rationed to enforce obedience, and casual flirting with another guy gauges exactly how secure you really are. Schopenhauer called this phenomenon the tyranny of the weak. By showing vulnerability, women activate a power that can overpower physically stronger opponents. A man who surrenders ends up shackled by his own desire, while the one who sees the game clearly becomes difficult to manipulate. However, there is a way out. The lesson Schopenhauer considered most liberating is simple. Recognizing your chains is the first step to breaking them. When you see feminine behavior as biological impulse rather than personal offense, the game loses most of its sting. At that point, you stop begging for loyalty and start inspiring it. And you realize something crucial. The most harmful lies aren't whispered by women, but by the male ego itself. Ultimately, Schopenhauer's harshest blow wasn't aimed at women, but at the cold machinery driving the entire species. After exposing the brutal rules of attraction and power, he offered the real reward, the chance to break free. The goal was never to defeat women, but to rise above the game and move forward. Men today often fall into a common trap, believing their happiness depends on women's approval. Schopenhauer shattered that fantasy by pointing out that genuine joy from within beats any external applause. The person who truly moves forward isn't the guy chasing romantic conquests. It's the one who conquers himself. This kind of man channels his energy into a purpose so compelling and self-sustaining that praise from women becomes just a bonus, not a requirement for survival. Take a look at the great figures who've shaped history: painters, inventors, strategists. None of them spent hours seeking validation. They were all busy building their own kingdoms. From this observation come three foundations for strong masculinity. First is economic sovereignty. Schopenhauer noted that money represents condensed happiness, not because it buys luxury, but because it buys freedom. Those who control their finances chart their own course. Second is philosophical depth. While most people drift through life on autopilot, the uncommon man sharpens his mind to cut through empty stories. He reads, questions, debates, and forms his own judgments. Lastly, physical mastery. Your body isn't just a showcase, it's the vessel for your will. Failing in this area weakens all the others. Building strength, mobility, and endurance boosts every goal you pursue outside the gym. Schopenhauer offers a powerful turning point. The surest way to avoid deep unhappiness is to stop chasing the promise of absolute happiness. Far from pessimism, this works like emotional armor. When the modern man stops begging for love, approval, or fairness, these things start heading his way. Why? By stepping out from the anxious crowd, he becomes the prize everyone wants. The friction between men and women was never personal. It's a biological drama that's been played out for millennia. Realizing this changes the protagonist's role. Instead of blaming, he evolves. He doesn't harbor resentment toward female nature. He adapts to it. He builds a life so compelling that women either step up to meet his standards or watch from the sidelines. Schopenhauer's greatest lesson echoes loudly. We sacrifice much of ourselves to wear society's mask. The choice is yours. Keep chasing illusions or reclaim control over your own life. The red pill philosophy doesn't preach aversion toward women. It celebrates a radical love of truth that pushes a man to reshape himself according to reality. And precisely at that moment, authentic life shows its first sign.